and the mind.
So your brain is a physical thing. The mind is like a subconscious. Is that along the right tracks?
50%. So the brain is a physical thing, right?
Yes.
And then the second part.
Your mind is like the It's like the subconscious version of your brain.
The
It's not a tangible object.
The mind is not a tangible object. Perfect.
Isn't it like the mind, like the way your brain works, the way your brain thinks? So everyone's got a different mind because everyone thinks different.
Yeah. So there's a lot of overlap, obviously, between mind and brain. But you're saying something different when you say there's something wrong with his brain and there's something wrong with his mind, right? When you say brain, you're talking about the physical organ. You're talking about the mind. You're being a lot more expansive in what you're talking about. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So, what kind of the standard marketing dichotomy? Do you choose an iPhone? Do you get a Samsung? Right. Just out of curiosity, who says Samsung? Who says iPhone? iPhone has it. Who doesn't care? All right, so we're going to talk about kind of where choices come from. We're going to take, you've got the brain here, and then you've got the mind, and we're kind of taking a more expansive view when we talk about the mind. It's kind of the brain is a physical organ, the mind is, we mean more. A couple of definitions before we get into this. Does anyone know who Rene Descartes is? When you talk about kind of dualism and...
Okay. He's the guy who said, I think, therefore I am. He's the old philosopher who was determined to figure out the differences between the mind and the body. And he eventually figured it out and said it was like the pineal gland of the brain. But more or less he said that there is nothing real. I don't know where you want me to go.
That's good, yeah. Kind of the main thing is this idea of... He saw, it's called dualism or Cartesian dualism for Rene Descartes, that these are separate things, right? There's this, the mind or spirit, and we're not going to distinguish between those. Mind and spirit is one thing, and the body is the other, and there's this kind of, critics of him called it, kind of considered his view ghost in the machine. That's kind of one way of thinking about it. That there are two separate things. There's the body and then there's the spirit, or there's the body and there's the mind. Embodied cognition is what we're going to talk about today, and this is the idea that you don't separate them, that the body is and the mind are inseparable. In other words, states of body affect thinking and product choices. So this is kind of a light dusting of philosophy, some psychology, but for some reason this is a topic that most of the people who study this are in marketing. So even though this is kind of a little out there, it's a little philosophical, a lot of the examples and the stuff we're going to look at, it comes down to product choices, and so you sort of see where we're going with that. Any questions? We really covered anything there. Metaphor is another thing to know. Metaphor is an object or idea that is used as a symbol of something else. So small, when we say somebody's small, Amelie, how tall are you?
I think it's 5 feet.
5 feet?
And
Yeah. So we all kind of know what we mean when we say small, when we take it in the literal sense. Wait, Taylor, how tall are you? 4'11". That is small. So that's small, kind of and we all kind of know what that means when we're talking about smallness in the face valid sense, or in the literal sense. But what if we say somebody behaved in a small way?
I think they're shy and kind of introverted. That's how I would perceive that.
I think, like, if someone acted in a small way, I would think it was, like, almost below, like,
Standard.
not nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that.
We
but,
can
like,
agree.
Below a normal standard.
Yeah, you're,
Like, it wasn't the right thing to do, it wasn't nice.
it's not a compliment, we know this much, right? So, sort of dictionary definition, it's usually something to do with lacking generosity, right? Behaving in a small way. So there's the literal sense, and then there's the metaphor for small. We'll talk a couple of other ones. So cold, we all know what cold means. Be physically cold. What if you say that Professor Smith is cold? What are you saying?
Did it show emotions maybe?
Doesn't show any emotions? Good.
We'll say ruthless.
Ruthless? Good. Yeah, those are both good.
It's a little extreme, but.
Not tender-hearted, right? So cold, off-putting, or detached. Those are kind of dictionary definitions. But you kind of know what you're saying when you say somebody's cold. There's a kind of a lack of humanity there. What about warm? You say Professor Smith is warm. What are you saying?
Caring atmosphere, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. There's some caring,
Warm.
supportive. And we'll get to Tebow in a second. So the idea of cold and warm, they actually are very, very old concepts for people, meaning that every one of us had a concept of cold and warm before we had those words. Right? Because as an infant, you're drawn to a parent, usually a mother, because there's warmth there and that's what you need. And all babies are drawn to warmth, right? And so we have this concept that goes way back, and it's not coincidental that we use warm to signal love and affection, right? Because it comes from here. It comes from kind of bonding with the parent. So let's get to Tebow. Here's Tebow. Let's say that what they did in the study, and we'll talk about a bunch of studies that look at this kind of question, and this one doesn't have anything to do with product choices, but the next couple will. But they didn't actually have anything to do with Tebow, but I needed a picture, and Tebow was on my mind when I was coming up with these slides, so we got Tebow. Let's wait, three people. We'll take you three. We'll say Taylor and Jacob. We're going to give Taylor a cup of hot coffee. We're going to give Jacob an iced coffee. That's iced tea, but we'll just couldn't find a good iced. And then they meet Miranda for the first time, right? So Taylor is holding something that's physically warm. Jacob is holding something that's physically cold. They smell about the same. And then they both meet Miranda for the first time. Is that going to affect how they think about Miranda? And if so, okay, the hint is yes, it does affect her. How is it going to affect how they perceive Miranda? Holding something warm versus holding something cold.
I was just gonna say it's gonna make her seem nicer, the warm person, and then make her seem cool and hard to approach.
Exactly. So when people held a warm cup of coffee, they perceived people as more likable than when they held the cold cup. Right? The cold cup, holding something cold, made people perceive somebody new, novel interaction partner, as less likable. So how does that work?
Wouldn't that also depend on the situation though? Because if it was like a hot summer day and they met somebody, and then like the person with the cold cup of iced tea, did they?
Well,
could have an opposite effect.
No, for sure it could. And this is kind of the beauty of experimentation, where you hold everything exactly the same, with the exception of one thing, and that one thing is what you're interested in looking at. So in this, there's going to be lots of individual preferences. Somebody might hate hot coffee, another person might love it. But with a large enough sample size, those individual differences don't matter. And eventually, the only thing that's gonna show up is the difference between those two conditions. So that's a totally fair point. But in the case of this experiment, it gets washed out. So that's one study. This one, also kind of interesting, I think. So how are we doing, by the way? Good. All right. So heavy. If I say this desk is heavy, you know what I'm saying. I'm saying something about the downward gravitational force. What if I say that I just met with a student and we had a heavy conversation? What does that mean?
Really deep.
Meaningful.
Meaningful. And what else did you say? Did you say
Just meaningful.
meaningful? Good. Deep, meaningful, emotional, right? Important, serious. All, meaningful, deep, that's all kind of wrapped up in that. This is what Google Images gives you with, if you search serious. Whoa, my gosh, I gotta get a new one of these. Because that just jumped ahead like 8 slides. All right, I'm just kidding. So the question here is, they gave people, they went around campus and they had these surveys, and they gave the surveys to students, and it was about spending prioritization, what they wanted to see the government spend more money on. And it was stuff like environmental protections, healthcare, scholarships, college tuitions. There were 9 or 10 different things. And one of the things that they altered, though, was the weight of the clipboard that they handed out. One was weighted, and the other one was just a standard clipboard. And so, question is, under which circumstances would people want more increased funding, and why?
The cheap clipboard.
What's that? What did you say? You got a 50-50.
I said the heavy clipboard.
The heavy clipboard.
Maybe they take it more serious or.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The heavy clipboard. So this is kind of, you're gonna see this kind of reasoning. The physical sensation of heaviness invokes the metaphor for heaviness. So if something feels heavy, it causes you to think about the heaviness metaphor, kind of in a non-conscious way, and therefore things seem more serious. And so when people had a heavy clipboard, they wanted more spending on more things, because things seemed heavier in the sense meaning more serious. Any questions about that? There's got to be one question. Nothing?
For the sake of the photo, I'll raise my hand.
What's that?
You got actually raised.
For the sake of the photo, I'll raise my hand. But I don't really have a question.
No. I'm just going to assume it's because it was so, my explanation was so thorough. All right, so I want to stick with Alexis with this one. So we're gonna. So in this is a trust game that people who study decision theory will sometimes use. So in this game, Alexis gets $6 on behalf of the experimental team, and she can keep all of it or give it to some unknown partner. We'll just say somebody on this side of the room. Okay. Somebody on this side of the room, she doesn't know who, is going to get her $6 or whatever portion she wants. She can keep 1 and give 5, keep 5 and give 1, whatever. But what she knows is the rest of the rules of the game are as follows. Your partner gets it tripled. So it goes to your partner, that amount gets tripled, and that partner can choose to give some back to her or keep all of it, if that's what he wants to do. So what would you do?
I'd probably give it to them thinking that they would triple it and give me more.
Right, so.
Split it in half and we both end up with more money.
Yeah, so it goes from $6, it comes over here, it's tripled, it's 18. So if that person's being fair, they're gonna give you 9, right? But it takes you,
Yeah, that's me assuming that they're on the same level as I am, like, oh, hey, let's both profit from this.
right. Yeah, yeah, so that's the nature of the game. And the question is, how much does Alexis give? How much does she keep? So in this case, they did the same thing, but instead of giving somebody coffee that's warm or coffee that's cold, they made the room warm versus the room cold. So again, everything is the same with the exception of the temperature of the room. And when the room is warm, then people, what? They trust it more. Right? Because the idea is in a cold environment, you sort of assume that people are a little bit colder, right? That the physical sensation of feeling cold makes you, sort of invokes the metaphor of coldness and affects your thinking. So when the room was cold, people kept more of the money. When it was warm, they trusted more. Michaela?
I think that has a lot to do with, even during winter, do you think people act more coldly to other people just because it's cold?
Sort of based on this, probably. Although it's odd because when, people want the indoors to be warmer in the winter than in the summer. So I don't know. I don't know if you actually spend more time cold in the winter or in the summer. I don't know. All right, negotiation game. This is a kind of an interesting one. So in this study, well, it's not really a game. The idea is, but students kind of think they're in doing some negotiating. So they're shown a new car. Do you like this car, by the way? I don't know, it's futuristic looking. Say the visibility sort of looks terrible. It's great. It's great if you don't need to see outside. So anyway, you make an offer on it. Whatever that offer is, it's turned down, and then you're invited to make a new offer. Okay? What does that second offer tell us about you? So let's say the first offer is, who wants to throw out a nice round number?
15,000.
15. So that's her first offer. She gets turned down. Okay, that's not enough. So come up with something better.
17,000.
17,000. All right. So we're going to come back to this game in a second. First, we're going to talk about another metaphor. So soft versus hard. Let's say, and I'm sure you guys have all heard this. Professor Stillman is a softie. What does that mean?
EDA.
Easy A.
Pushover.
Pushover, yeah. Yeah, not, lenient, forgiving. I'm gonna switch up the names here. Probably best to do a female. Professor Moore is hard. What do you think?
Why more female?
So what is that? What are you saying there?
Tough.
Tough? Yeah, kind of the opposite of lenient, forgiving, right? Uninviting, uncompromising. Sort of Chuck Norris-esque.
As hard as they come.
So let's go back to our negotiation game. In this study, people were sitting in two different kinds of chairs. they were sitting in chairs that were hard and chairs that were soft. So how would that affect their negotiating?
I feel like people in the hard chairs would be uncompromising.
That's, So, and so how do you measure compromising versus uncompromising in this study?
The difference between the offers.
Yeah. So Nicole, her difference was $2,000. If she were sort of more, that seems to me to be kind of compromising. I wouldn't call that uncompromising. Somebody who's uncompromising might have come up with like, what? 15.5 or something like that, right? And it's all due to the comfortable accommodations we have, right? It's the comfort of the chair. So again, why? Physical sensation of hardness or softness invokes the metaphor of being hard versus being soft, and that changes our perception. What about light?
Like right, in terms of weight or?
In terms of the waves and particles that come down from above. What's the, so that's what it is at face value, the literal sense. What is it metaphorically? What is light?
You're smart.
Angelic? Good. No, that's good. That's
I was
right.
thinking of smart because of bright.
I think easy,
Bright, easy,
like easy
Happy.
going.
easygoing.
Visible?
Okay, that's more light, like light,
Happy.
The weight.
the weight metaphor. We're thinking bright versus dark.
Visible?
Don't,
Happy.
only got one person who goes to church in. So light, we're talking moral or godly, something angelic. And so going back to the trust, whoops, let me back that up and use it. So they're gonna invoke the light metaphor. What's one way to do it? So you probably saw one. What's a different way to do this?
Windshield tint.
A spotlight?
Windshield tint, okay, good. Put everybody in a car that's either tinted windows or.
Yeah, when you see a car and like it's all tinted, you're like, whoa, what's that guy hiding?
Contrasting the light and the dark,
Yeah, so how would you do that in an experimental setting?
utilizing shadows maybe with some sort of a spotlight.
Okay, put somebody in a shadow,
Yeah.
dark room. The dark room, light room, that seems to me to be where to go, but in this one, they put everybody in glasses that were, and this sort of gets to the sun, the tinted windows thing. You shield your eyes versus clear. And then they did the trust game again. And how do you think it affected things? Yeah, more trust. People trusted more when they had the clear glasses. When they had the dark glasses, they kept more of the money. Firm. So somebody's a firm negotiator. What do we say about them?
Origin. Steadfast, stoic.
Good. Yeah, they're not. Do you want to negotiate with a firm negotiator?
No.
No, right? Somebody's resolved or self-controlled, firm. They're gonna stand on principle. In this study, what they did is they had everybody drink. Okay, we talked about this. What's in here? Do you think? Vinegar. Yeah, it's vinegar. Yeah, vinegar is great because it tastes terrible, but it's easy to get past the IRB because it's not bad for you. So I don't know for sure, but I'm almost certain that's what. As far as experiments go, people always use vinegar. So and then they had people do one of two things. One is they had to flex their calf muscles versus not flex their calf muscles. And then the question was how much could they drink of this disgusting beverage with the muscle. So when did they drink more? With the muscle flexed or unflexed?
Flex.
Why flexed?
Because they're concentrating on something else.
Well, they're also being like, it's hard,
Yeah, it's you're invoking the firm metaphor, right, which alters your perceptions. And so when people flex their calves, they drink 67% more of the gross vinegar solution. So, anyone, if any of you have meals served to you that are disgusting, you got a solution now. You'll choke down more food, and your calves will look better. And the strategy. Same thing, but with arms. They did this with the arms. It was not just the calves. They did this with the arms. And then they had people choose between cake and an apple. Which way did it go? Magdalena.
I always take ticker.
That's a great answer. Jill, which way did this go?
Yeah, the cake to the right and the apple to the left.
Yeah, so, and then walk us through it, why?
Because when the person was feeling firm, they had more self-control to eat healthy food, and when they're feeling soft, they're like, yeah, take that food.
Wow. So the idea is that the flex muscle feels firm, that invokes the firmness metaphor, and that affects our perception. So we're thinking we've got firmness, the metaphor firmness in mind, and that affects the product.
So like whenever you have to make a tough choice, are you like really supposed to flex and you'll make the correct decision?
Every time. It's what I do whenever a student asks for leniency. I just flex, and then I'm like, no. No, so I think it's not really, I don't know if this is tremendously practical as far as like, I think it's more kind of interesting from a philosophical perspective. Some of the other studies might be a little bit more useful. We'll get into
think
it.
on that.
What's that?
I should like think on that for like daily life decisions.
Yeah, no, if you're like stuck on a quiz or something, and flex is probably not gonna. All right, clean. We all know what clean means, the literal sense. Metaphorically, what does it mean to be clean? Pure. Yeah. Moral purity, uprightness, decency. These are all kind of when we talk about. Bless you.
Thanks, guys.
You can tell a lot about somebody by how they say this.
Yeah, that was a pure scene. She's a nice person.
All right, so this is one of my favorite. I like this one, I like the next one. These are kind of my two favorite in this series of studies. So you copy a paragraph about somebody else's unethical behavior. It's written in the first person, so you're writing, I did blah, 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 lots of details about what somebody else did, but you're the one writing it down, right? Then in what seems to be a separate experiment, you're asked to indicate how much you'd be willing to pay for a bunch of different products, right? And among those products is cleaning products. So how much would you pay for cleaning products? The question is, what's the relationship between copying down someone else's unethical behavior and cleaning products?
They'll only feel like they'll pay less.
They'll play, well, why?
Because I feel dirty. I guess
Okay, no,
but wouldn't
okay,
that make
keep
them
going
pay
with
more
that.
for it?
Okay,
If they
that's-
feel dirty, would they want to like pay more for it?
Yeah, so this is the unethical paragraph. I don't know, you search, you have to make sure your safe search is on. I search for unethical and this will come up. I don't, unethical behavior, and I don't know exactly what's going on there. If this is seduction or face melting. Either way. It's unethical. But what they found was that when people copy down someone else's unethical behavior, right, it made them feel dirty, and feeling dirty makes you want to pay more for cleaning products. So in this case, it's not a physical sensation, it's exposure to immoral behavior that makes you feel dirty. And so you feel dirty, it invokes the metaphor of feeling dirty, which makes you want to pay more to get clean. This is the first study I saw in this kind of group of studies on embodied cognition, and this one, I like this. This is a nice study. So in this one, all the participants come to the lab, and there's a preliminary study, and it's super boring. And then the experimenter says, okay, I need your help for the next part. We've been having trouble with people not showing up. So would you please send an email to this other participant and tell them that this is a fun experiment? So in other words, you're kind of twisting their arm and getting them to lie through email. Second condition, they're asked to do the same thing, but instead leave a voicemail for the next participant and tell them that's fun and tell them they should participate. Third condition, send an email just reminding them, don't tell them it's fun. Fourth condition, leave a message, remind them that they've got an appointment, don't tell them it's fun. Then again, they bid on, or they wrote what they were willing to pay for a bunch of different products, which included mouthwash and hand sanitizer. So I'm going to show you the results, and you're going to tell me what the product is and why. So here are the results. Who can tell us what the product is? Meg?
I think for the email.
Sorry, Alan.
Oh, was it me? Okay.
Yeah.
The email lie would be more hand sanitizer, that they would want to pay more for hand sanitizer,
So this is
if they lied in the email.
right. So, huh?
So wait,
It's a synthesis.
This graph.
Yeah.
oh, this is all one product? Oh, then I'll say it's the mouthwash because of the foam lie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So walk us through that though. Why mouthwash? Because they both lied.
Well, they use their mouth, and like mouthwash cleans their mouth, so they feel like they had a dirty mouth.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It sounds crazy, but this is what they found, and it's I think super interesting. When you lie through your mouth, you want to pay more for mouthwash, and this is what they found for the hand sanitizer. They were willing to pay more. So lying through the phone didn't make them feel like they needed mouthwash. Sorry, lying through the keyboard, right? That's when you type with your hands, and so people wanted to pay more for the hand sanitizer when they wiped their hands. And body. So here's another one where that also works with the cleanliness. In this one, they used an air jobby. What's something you put in the air that smells good?
Air freshener.
Air freshener. You don't. Air. What? I called it a jobby. Jobby's just a good all-purpose word. Nowhere to go. So this is that trust game that we talked about. Only there's a little bit of so this isn't so much about trust, but more about kind of decency. Because on this one, instead of being, it's the same game, but in this one, you're the person receiving the money. So you know that this person has given up money and they're trusting you. And the question, and you can totally exploit it, right? You get that money. So in this study, you're given $6 from the other person, which is tripled to $18, and you can walk away with $18 if you want to. And the question is, under what circumstances are they willing to keep the money versus do the right thing, which is give the other person at least half? And the answer is that it depends on how the room smells. And when the room smells clean, people actually behave in a more, well, you tell me, what do they do?
Happier.
Why? Why do they walk through the metaphor?
If being clean is being decent, and so that's the decent thing to do is to give them money, whereas if it's a dirty room, then they either want to get out or it's not a good place to be, or those negative thoughts.
Yeah, so being in a clean room or something that's, being in an environment that smells clean makes you feel more upright, like you're doing the right thing, right? Feeling, the environment actually affects your choices.
Couldn't this also be related to the limited resource model? Like if the room smells crappy and they're using all of their like self-control to sit in a chair and stay calm, and they're like, forget that person, I'm getting money, I'm getting out of here.
That could be, although in this one, it wasn't crappy room versus delightful room. They sprayed some lemon or orange scent in the air versus just water in the air, so it wasn't like.
And it's so bad.
Yeah, I like that kind of thinking though. I like that kind of. But wait, but in this case, there's a good answer, which is it's not. The room didn't smell bad. It just didn't smell good.
Okay.
And this, so again, when the room smelled good, people who received that money that was trusted them, they gave as a percentage more back. Balance. Cost and benefits. I'm going to do two things. You guys tell me which one is the balance metaphor. Palms up, like this, or palms down? Palms up is the balance metaphor, right? This is kind of what we do when we talk about balancing. So in this study, they actually had people make product choices either with their hands up, or their palms up, or their palms down. And they did a bunch of different products. I'll show you one or two here. This is, so they did grills, large and heavy, small and light, and then there was a compromise in between that was not super large and not super small, right? Kind of in between. Under what circumstances do people choose this grill? With the palms up, right? Palms up, that invokes the balance metaphor, and people were then more likely to choose this one, right? Palms up, they think, right? This physical state invokes the balance metaphor, and people chose a compromised balanced product that was not big and heavy or small and light. Same thing with stereos. These aren't the actual ones they use.
Are these cross-cultural, or is this pretty much just?
I don't know. That's a really good question. And some of these, I think, might work in other countries, and other ones, I don't know. We've got some cross-cultural kind of folks here. What do you think? Do you think that are these metaphors ones that work in the motherland?
I think I wouldn't compare it with Europe maybe, because it's so similar. Europe is very similar. I would ask this question to Asian students. Or Middle East or something like that, something more different.
Shannon, you're Asian. Why don't you? All right, so this went the way you'd expect. When people had their palms up, they went for the compromise part. So this question we came back to: do they come from the mind, or the brain, or the mind? Sort of taking a more expansive view. It's definitely the mind, right? This kind of research is relatively new and kind of in its infancy. Some interesting stuff that I think might be I'm interested in doing at some point. When people are hungry, there's a hunger metaphor, which is what? You're physically hungry, but also what's the hungry metaphor? Aggressive. Yeah, you want something. And so I think this would be an interesting thing to do. Give people sort of investment decisions to make when they're hungry, and I think what you find is that they choose riskier investments because the physical sensation of hunger activates the metaphor, and you end up, I don't know, that's just a guess. Greedy or selfish behavior, I don't know what I was thinking on that. Lost or geographically oriented, you might find that people are more kind of goal-directed when they physically know where they are. You can take people in the basement of a building, spin them around, they don't know where they are, and you might find that they are sort of more willing to pursue goals. I don't know. This next one I like though. Put people in a big kind of powerful chair versus a puny chair, and see how they treat other people. I think when you're in a big powerful chair, like that's up and it's big, it changes how you see things as compared to when you're sitting in these little things. I don't know, I think you might see some differences. So that's all there is for today. Thanks to our guest photographer.